Event number 5 is Row, Swim, Run, presented by Tier.
Yeah, we have 2 machines per team, 2 athletes working at a time on the machine. We'll start with a 2,500-meter row on this air rower. Then the entire team will have to swim 250 meters each. Then they'll get to their air runners, and they'll have to get both of those runners to 2,400 meters.
There are your overall leaders. Team Kreiger, they sit atop the overall standings by just 3 points over Mayfem. Kreiger has finished first in 3 out of the 4 events so far. Their worst finish of 4th place in the MIA Bar Complex. And Team GOWOD, they sit in 3rd. They're only 6 points out of 1st place. The Born Primitive Underdogs, the only other team above the 300-point mark.
I think this could be a really good event for Team Kreiger. If they're able to get out of the swim in a decent position, man, they're going to make those runners fly.
And there is Mayfem, Taylor Williamson, and Andrea Nissler. Now Nissler handing off to Haley Adams. They are coming off back-to-back 2nd place finishes on day number 2. And all they have to do is really beat Kreiger by 1 spot in this event in order to tie them in the overall standings. So this should be a good race to watch play out through this event. GOWOD, they currently sit in 3rd place overall. Again, just 6 points out of 1st.
GOWOD got their first event win of the weekend in the Miami Bar Complex yesterday morning. This is the other end of that spectrum here. You know, we did the short, fast, heavy lifting, and now we're going long. A couple of machine implements, some swimming.
18 total trips in the CrossFit Games.
The Born Primitive Underdogs, they are the only other team again over that 300-point threshold. Allison Scudds taking some time to smile at the camera.
Oh man, she's right at home here, Sean. She's a native of Ohio, but she moved to Miami, lived here, competed here. She's a regular at Wodapalooza, and now she's got, 2 newish comers. Kyra Milligan, Alex Gazan, who joined her in Las Vegas as part of the Underdogs crew. They're sitting in 4th. They're within striking distance of 3rd place in GOWOD, so depending on how well they do here, they could, keep themselves in the podium hunt.
Born Primitive Underdogs have been extremely consistent throughout this competition, 3 fourths and a 5th so far.
And one of the reasons I think Kreiger's going to do great here, obviously we know the aerobic capacity of Kristen Holton, how well she's done in some of the longer events, whether it's running, rowing. The 2 other members from Kreiger, Lena Richter, Ingrid Hodenemir, were part of the Oslo Wolfpack that finished 2nd at the Games. Their best finish at the Games was in event 8. They had 3 miles of running. They love some of those longer distances. They love getting out. It's part, you can think about some of the sports that are so common there too, even cross-country skiing, those longer type events, those longer aerobic events, that's just part of their culture out in Norway.
Kristen Holte's father was an Olympian in cross-country skiing.
1984 Olympics.
Yep, she's got a good, solid background.
It says the guy still trains pretty hard, too. And she has to kind of struggle to keep up with him sometimes. So she comes from a very fit family.
I was talking to her. She said she has to try and tell him to slow down sometimes.
Yeah, very type A. Very type A. It's like, Dad, calm down. This is a fun ski. Yeah.
Let's go over to Mayfem. They are 2nd place overall, and they have a plan right now. It looks like they're swapping out every 250 meters.
So I like that strategy. As we talked about earlier, that on an assault air rower, that fan does not slow down as much as a Concept 2. And so doing multiple transitions, it's not going to hurt you like it would on a Concept 2. That fan keeps moving and you keep accumulating that distance.
Chris, I think people are very familiar with Haley Adams being good aerobically and her proficiency at the higher end, at least as an individual games athlete. But Taylor Williamson and Andrea Nissler, they've been on the team for some of the early days. They were known for their high power output. What have you seen from them over the last couple of years since they've been under the Mayhem banner and how they've put in work here?
That was the thing that Rich taught them. Let's face it, when they came in and started working with Rich, they listen and they pay attention. They are students of the game. And Rich teaches that we've got to be good at multiple time domains. If you just practice high intensity, short time domains, that's what you get good at. But the sport of CrossFit, especially at the games, you've got to be great at multiple time domains. And it's not talking about 3 minutes and under. What we're talking about is 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And so when you see a workout like this for them, that's where their confidence shines, because Rich has taught them how to be great in those 20 to 40-minute time domains.
Let's revisit the keys to this event, Tommy. And so far, we've seen these really come into play here.
Yeah, the full send, that really pertains to your lead athlete in the swim, the athlete that you know you can send out there, have them chew up some ground, be one of the first to get to the air runners and start to put in some work before the other athletes get there. In the previous heat, we saw, Taylor Stride, we saw some athletes from Team Ireland really get to use that to their benefit. And, like Spike Lee, AKA Mars Blackman, said back in the 80s, gotta be the shoes, right? We've seen varying degrees of strategies as far as shoes here. Some athletes going barefoot, some athletes rocking shoes until they get to the water, some athletes wearing shoes in the water. But it really comes down to what's going to allow you to be successful once you get to that air runner, whether it's barefoot or if you got even water socks on.
The Mayfem's judge has a hand in the air as they are now inside 100 meters to go, so that strategy is paying off. And they are done. The Mayfem will be first off the rowers, way ahead of everybody else. I only saw maybe one other judge with hands in the air here, so they have a chance to really put some distance between themselves and the rest of the field.
And it's interesting, you mentioned, Rich's nature to still compete as an individual sometimes. I bumped into Haley after last night's event, and I could see her, outside of her comfort zone competing on the team. And I talked to her about this morning's event. She's like, it's going to be great because, there's elements of this where I can just go, right? I could go be that individual, go charge that run into the swim.
I mean, I talked to her too about it, and it's interesting, her take on being a teammate. She says it's really nerve-wracking. And you would think it would be more nerve-wracking as an individual, but the problem is that you've got two teammates that are depending upon you, and you don't want to let them down. And so, yeah, I agree. Haley, when she looked at this event, she's like, oh man, this is going to be great because we'll be together in that row, and then I'm free to fly.
There's Kristen Holza, Team Kreiger. They're just making their way towards the water. Let's send it down to Jamie Hagia, who is down there where the athletes are getting into the water.
The thing is about Kreiger is that they're from Norway, and unfortunately in Norway the weather is not as nice as it is here in Miami. As a result, they're great on equipment. And a good friend of mine, Patrick Brown, I mean, the thing is that he's worked with them on indoor machines because that's where they spend their time.
Let's go back down to Jamie Hagia, who is there where the athletes are making their way into the water for that 250-meter swim.
These athletes are coming down this path, throwing their shoes into those bins. The first heat you saw, they were a little bit more relaxed, just kind of walking down, taking their time, but these women are a little bit more in a hurry to hit that water. We're also seeing some beautiful diving. I know you don't get extra points for that, but that is really nice. All of them look really calm, very collected as they hit that water, so they must be very comfortable from that rower heading into the water.
27:33 is the time to beat from Blue City from heat number 1. This is the second and final heat here at event 5 for the elite women.
This is just part of the buy-in here at Wodapalooza. Being at Bayfront Park, being by the water, it's actually one of the draws here for a lot of athletes. You think about the competitions that take place outside of the game season. For most of the game season, outside of the games, you're not going to see swimming. For most of your local competitions, your box throwdowns, you're not going to see swimming. Here at Wodapalooza, you get a unique element of being by the ocean, getting to go for that swim, testing out these little elements of competition that you don't normally get. And, a lot of these athletes are type A, right? They want to attack, they want to get better. That's what we do in the gym. So this is an opportunity for them to do that.
They also make the swim easy, though. They're making it easy for that athlete having that first experience getting in the water. I mean, just simple things as, why are we going in this direction? It's because the sun's behind you. If they went the opposite way, those morning heats, what they would be doing is when they were doing their sighting, they would be looking directly in the sunlight, which is not the thing that you want to do for a newcomer getting into the water. They've thought about those details so that these people want to come back. They're going to have a great experience. They're going to be challenged. But you know what? They're going to look to next year, and that's the goal. I mean, in my opinion, success is based upon if an athlete wants to come back. And if they do, you've done a great job. And athletes come back. Look at Vellner. Year after year after year,
How long has Noah
back.
Olsen been here?
I know. Well, they should put, you know what? They should put a bronze statue of Noah in front. I mean, yeah. I mean, the fact is that they've thought about those details, and we've got to make it so that it's safe, but a great experience so that they want to come back, that they talk about it. And for a lot of people that are afraid of swimming, it is a legit fear. And so how do we make it so that they can actually have that experience?
The trio of Haley Adams, Andrea Nisler, and Taylor Williamson, they were the first three into the water. And they were ahead of that pack that was making its way to the ramp behind them. So they have an opportunity to really put some distance between themselves and everybody else here if they can all get to the runners at the same time.
And it looked like Andrea Nisler out in front, leading the way for Mayfem. A few athletes have been able to kind of squeeze in there between the rest of the Mayfem crew, but Andrea is still holding on as they turn that last buoy heading into the ramp.
So Nisler and I believe Haley Adams have sort of left Taylor Williamson behind, but they don't need to wait for her. Again, you can just hop right on the runners and get to work.
So I talked to them before, and Haley, and that was the strategy. They're going to take off and they're going to go. That way it keeps the pressure off. You know, the other teammates that may not be the best of swimmers, you know what, we'll pick up the slack, and that's what a team should do.
Approaching the 15-minute mark, which will signify the halfway point of this event. 30-minute time cap here. It's the 5th of 8 total events that these athletes will face here at Wodapalooza. One more today for the teams, and then 2 more final events on Sunday. There is Andrea Nisler getting out of the water. And Haley Adams, I believe, is in that pink cap right behind her.
27:33 is what we're looking at best out of heat number 1.
Wait, are those shoes or aqua socks?
There was definitely something on her feet. Here comes Haley Adams.
We've seen some athletes in the RX division for the intermediate teams wear aqua socks.
I think that was Julie Hogard from Team GOWOD. So now Nisler is onto the runner. Remember, they will be aligned based on their overall standings. The teams that are higher up on the leaderboard will be closest to the finish line. So Omnia was first out of the water. Their first athlete is on the left side of your screen. Team GOWOD, that is Julie Hogard, is on to the runner for her. But Mayfem, the first team with 2 athletes onto the runners here, 2,400 meters they need to complete. Now here comes Taylor Williamson. She is on the left side of your screen behind the medical official in the red cap. And so she will soon be joining Nisler and Adams on the runners.
What a relief for an athlete to know that their teammates, that they've got it, that she could take her time, not stress, and when she gets there, she could then settle in versus being behind, feeling rushed, being late. There's no worse feeling for an athlete to make them unsettled.
We saw Kristen Holte getting out of the water as well. She looks to be the first athlete from Kreiger to get on the runner. Lena Richter is there as well.
And even though Taylor's the last athlete to the runner, that's a kind of a vote of confidence, right? She's only a few steps behind Kristen Holte. She was right side by side with Mia Heskett there for a second. So she knows that even though she's just getting to the runner, the teams that are either they're chasing or hot on their heels also have to wait for their additional teammate.
Right, after all that swimming, I mean, she came onto that runner 1 minute and 26 seconds behind their leader. That's all it was. It wasn't much time. But you know what? It's nice to let her teammates go, and she's going to do the best she can for the type of swimmer she was.
Mayfem and GOWOD have all 3 of their athletes onto the runners. And that's going to be big for them because only 6 points separated Kreiger in first from GOWOD in third.
This is going to get good.
27:33 is the top time. There's Winter Nicolette Rodriguez coming out of the water.
Kelsey Keel as well.
So what'll be interesting is, the push. I mean, Haley's got a 5:20 mile in her 5:25. Kristen Holte's got a 5:20, 5:25 mile. And both of them don't want to lose.
Now Kreiger has all 3 of their athletes onto the runners. Ingrid Odenmeyer has now swapped out for Lena Richter. Kristen Holte will be on the left side, and that's not a bad athlete to have running this portion of the event.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is one of the reasons why we've had such a good battle between Kreiger and Mayfem so far. I mean, you have the 2 women from the top team at the games. On the other team, you have the 2 women from the second place team at the games. And then, your third athletes are the 4th and fittest women on the planet. So supremely talented groups with team experience, individual experience. And I mean, they've been basically even up to this point.
So your overall standings on the left side of your screen. Team Kreiger with a 3-point lead on Mayfem, and Mayfem with a 3-point lead on GOWOD. They are aligned from left to right on your screen right now.
Over the 19-minute mark.
Haley Adams swapping out for Andrea Nisler as we approach the 20-minute mark. There will be 10 minutes to go. Once we get there, 30-minute time cap in this event. Mayfem looking to overtake Kreiger for the overall lead.
See Haley Adams in the back there, just peeking over at GOWOD's screen, making sure that, hey, we still got some distance between us.
The first time I ever remember anybody peeking at anything was Rich Froning in the tennis stadium using the Jumbotron to figure out where everyone was behind him. And now everybody has learned to use not only those tools when they're around, but also just look at anybody else's screen.
Oh, yeah. I remember midline march. At the end, you had the handstand walk, GHG sit-up, the overhead walking lunge. That was when he was making his charge on the final day. I remember seeing him look up. Oh, can I set this down? Nope, I can't. Keep going. It's what you see in other sports. You see a ball carrier in football, look up at the Jumbotron to see if they can cruise. It's just one of those little added nuances that you see evolve as a sport starts to mature.
Mayfem has gotten themselves into what looks like a pretty regular rotation. About every 20 seconds, it looks like they're swapping out.
A lot of verbal communication going on between them as well.
Team GOWOD over 1,000 meters per runner.
Now Haley Adams in for
That was 20
Sarah
seconds.
Williamson.
I mean, Haley looks so relaxed. If you want to know what relaxed looks like, that's Haley right there. That is a relaxed running cadence right there. She's comfortable, breathing, and look at that. I mean, who's smiling? What is going on?
Oh, man. I mean, Andrea Nisler has a slightly different demeanor. She's towards the end of her interval.
That's
so
a face I can relate to on any kind of running. Mayfem looking to win this event, and look at the crowd that is on hand here.
How rad that they set up the runners where you're facing the crowd. I mean, you're right there, right in front of them. There's just that railing between you and all of those people. It's, boy, what a pump that's got to be. Yeah, that's amazing. Look at that.
When you think of just great venues in this sport, the tennis stadium comes to mind. You think about the great scenery that we get in Dubai, what Rogue is able to put together, and this is definitely up there as well. It's just a great setting that is hard to duplicate anywhere else.
Oh, man, and we've gotten 2 sides of it, right? We got, last night, we get the bright Miami lights, the skyline lit up, the fireworks after. Today, we get a little sunshine, get in the water. Everybody outside, probably on vacation, getting a little tan.
A lot of people always ask, like, can you see the audience? Can you see them? And what we saw from Haley is absolutely you can.
Yep.
If you're not in the red zone and you're just seeing blood. right?
Yep.
Right.
Keeps
I
you
mean,
from looking at how slowly that monitor seems to be moving sometimes too.
that's the unique thing about this event, though, is the strategy that the teams have to deal with. The fact is that you've got to accumulate matching meters. And are you accumulating them differently on these runners? And you've got to pay attention to that detail. And we saw from the last group that came through that, that won the last heat, they were on one air runner for a lot of time trying to make up that delta. That shouldn't have happened to them. It shouldn't have happened. And it'll be interesting with Mayhem how off they are between their two runners.
Bottom right of your screen is our last athlete to get out of the water. That's one of the athletes from Limelight. So they just have two of their women onto the runner right here.
She was employing a little backstroke action, maybe coming from the Sean Woodland School of Swimming.
She'd have floaties and an inner tube around her if that were the case.
Do you wear arm floaties, Sean?
I don't think they make them in 24 inches.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that goes back to what you were talking about, Chris, is that that's obviously someone who's not very proficient in the water, but the swim is safe enough and short enough for her to be able to get through it.
Exactly, and that's what it should be. Like, a lot of people are like, why 250 meters? It seems so short, and it's disproportionate with what we're rowing and what we're running. But the fact is that what we're trying to do is use this competition to introduce new athletes. That's why we have the whole age group different. We have the adaptive groups. We have the vast group of teenagers. We're trying to induce a lot of new people into the sport in a very unique, safe setting, and they've done it here with this 250-meter swim.
Let's go back to a couple minutes ago. Team Kreiger, during one of their transitions, I think it was Lena Richter on the left, takes a spill coming off of that thing.
Yeah, wet feet. That's why they put the grip tape there, to catch yourself and be able to transition safely. Sometimes you get the speed wobbles.
We're inside 3 minutes to go before we hit the time that was put up by Blue City, and hands already in the air for Mayfem. And they are looking to supplant Kreiger atop the overall leaderboard. Only trailed them by 3 points, and now GOWOD's judge's hand is in the air for one of their runners. Mayfem is off, and they will win the event, and they look to overtake the top spot in the standings here with just 3 events remaining.
Look how they burned through their meters. They matched their runners almost perfectly, and they were doing 20 on at a time, and they made a match. That's a good team.
Hand in the air for Kreiger as well. They are both inside 100 meters. They're trying to hold off GOWOD, who's in the red towards the right middle of your screen. They were only 6 points back of Kreiger coming into this event for first place. Now Kreiger is in, and it looks like we will have a tie again atop the overall standings for the women's teams. And now here comes GOWOD. They will still be inside the top 3, but we will have a tie between Mayfem and Kreiger for first place, with just, again, 3 events remaining.
Oh, man.
The 2 of them just cannot get away from each other.
The top 3 teams are the top 3 teams in this event yet again, or in any event again. Clear classes of the division, and it's like a heavyweight slugfest, you know?
I mean, Kristen Holte worked. She wanted that thing. She was crushed at the end of that event.
I think Omnia just got across as well.
See the comeback team there?
What a great event.
So all the teams so far are ahead of the top time in the prior heat, 27:33 from Blue City.
See Shelby Neal coming across.
Team Fleo Fuego. We also saw Ashley Wozni for them.
Saw Jen Ryan from Invictus.
The Born Primitive underdogs, they are still on the floor now. They came in 4th place overall. And the good news for them is that they are going to beat Blue City's top time. So they could be inside the top 10 when it comes to finishing in this event. But they are falling back when it comes to the battle for one of the spots inside the top 3.
The nice thing for the Born Primitive underdogs is that there was a sizable gap between them and the comeback team in 5th. It's 69 points ahead of the 5th place team. So, you know, even though they might give a little bit of ground there, they had a nice buffer.
Italian Vibes as well was one of the teams that I believe got across the finish line. Now Junk, the team of Krivo,
Alexis
Detroit, and Danielle Dunlap are in.
Oof.
That's a sprint.
That is unhooking the trailer and going full sprint.
That is Fleo, Kelsey Keel, Kelly Baker, and Alexis Bergen. Now 90 seconds, less than 90 seconds to go before we hit the 30-minute time cap. Limelight still working. They of course had one of their athletes take quite a long time to get out of the water. And now 1 minute to go, and we will close out the team portion of this event.
See Freakin' Fitness out there as well. They're almost done.
Briley Hansen and Winter Nicolette Rodriguez, along with Heather Hudson. They're on the right side of your screen, trying to get inside that 30-minute time cap here. They do have one of their treadmills done, so now they just have to knock out the rest of the meters and find a way to get in 30 seconds.
You know, it's going to be close. Obviously, Limelight struggled to get out of the water, but hats off, you know, coming all the way out from South Korea, making the trip, getting to throw down in this awesome setting, sitting in 17th coming into this event.
Winter Nicolette Rodriguez is doing everything she can to get those final 100 meters done. It's not going to happen. But Mayfem, they will win the event, and once again, for the second time in this competition, we're going to have a tie atop the overall leaderboard for the women's teams between Kreiger and Mayfem.
And pretty much from the outset, it was all Mayfem. They were the first team off of the rowers, getting to the water. We saw out of the 3, Andrea Nisler kind of be the lead athlete through the swim. Omnia was able to take over the top spot from Andrea just for a second there as they got out of the water. But as you can see, Haley Adams joined Andrea to be the first team to have 2 athletes, and they took down a big portion of that 2,400 meter run. And by the time Taylor Williamson got there to help out, there was no one even close, and they got to march their way to 100 points and another shot to bring it to a tie.
Let's go down to Jamie Higia with your event winners.
Haley, we can see that your knee is bleeding. What happened and where is that from?
Couldn't tell you.
Got it. And you guys did a lot of transitions on the assault runner and on the air rower. What was your strategy in that?
Yeah, we were going the strategy of maybe not going as long, but going faster, so it kind of made up for it. And we practiced our transitions, so that definitely helped a lot.
And then, hi, thank you for joining us. Just wondering how much of the open water swimming, how does that differ from pool swimming when you guys are here in competition versus training?
I mean, the open water swimming differs a lot, especially when it's the ocean. There are some bigger waves out there. I think I swallowed like 3 of them, so it's just more of like being aware.
And we saw the air rower versus that concept too that where most people are used to training on. The biggest difference in those two?
They're way different, honestly. I mean, they're the same, you know, basic concept, but there's no damper. And they're higher off the ground. It feels a lot different than the normal C2 rowers, for sure.
Thank you.
Mayfem picking up an event win.